Okay.
Hello, everybody. How we doing today? Welcome to Kicking Out of Two, the best podcast you're not listening to. We are live on YouTube and Twitter Twitter X Xavier Woods. I don't know. That's a hard.
You sure you want?
That's.
You sure
Oh
you want to
yeah,
talk about him right now?
that hurts. Just saying his name. Uh, I'm Michael. With me as always is my auditory and visual partner, Tori. Tori, how you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Okay, good. We're gonna kick off the stream with some news. Get some news done and out of the way. I'm gonna get my other earbud in here, and then we're going to do the review of Raw from last night, and then we're gonna do some pew pew. I think that's a good way to go ahead and plan the rest of the day. Um, New Fortnite season and all. We've already been through all the map, so now we're pretty comfortable. But as far as some news, the only real news that I have is there's some fallout from Survivor Series. Um, the first one I want to talk about, just because you and I were both so worried about it during the stream, and if you haven't seen the live stream, go back and watch the VOD. We watched the entire pay per view. You can't see the pay per view on our stream, however, you can hear the pay per view on our stream, so you can hear what's going on and see our reactions. Jacob Fatu landed hard on a moonsault, very awkward. Escaped injury. Um, he
Yeah.
he apparently tweaked it, and he sold that because he knew that would be a better show. So he is fine now. However, someone we did not know was hurt.
Bronson, his ankle.
Yeah, Bronson Reed. His ankles exploded.
Yeah, I saw the one. Was it
Yeah.
both of them or just one of them?
The things I've read is that it was both of them. Like both of his ankles were pretty screwed up. He got scans yesterday. I haven't seen any news today as far as how those scans turned out. But whew, um, Jimmy Uso also got hurt. He hurt his toe.
He broke his toe.
He broke his toe on a high risk splash.
Which Kofi Jay responded to as he was trying to find a donut or a muffin.
Yeah. But all they got was desserts. Some dessert. CM Punk, which is one that a lot of people were worried about, just because like he has recently become fairly accident prone as far as having some injuries. He's apparently completely unscathed. He's perfectly fine. Nothing hurting on him. He's good. So, which we can kind of validate for what happened the next night. So we'll go ahead and lead straight into the Raw review. We opened the night off with CM Punk coming straight out to the ring, which was good because we wanted to know what's the favor, what's going on, what's the thing.
I'm calling it that. We're not going to hear anything about that for a solid month.
Oh, I'm with you.
Maybe two. Maybe two.
I think that's going to be one of those just out of nowhere. We're gonna forget about it. They're going to hold on to that long enough that we'll forget all about it, and then Punk's going to come out talking to Paul, and then all of a sudden we're going to be reminded, oh yeah, he has a favor. But he come out there. He was just kind of talking about how there was different ways to get to WrestleMania, and he said even though there's not a sign there, he pointed over to some invisible sign somewhere, saying that basically he was going to WrestleMania. That was his plan. But then he's interrupted by Seth freaking Rollins. We're going to continue to hold that little bit of hard times against those two. But apparently we're going to stay it off a little bit. They had a great back and forth in the ring. Punk saying there's different ways you can finish your story. Rollins saying, hey, I should have knocked you out the day you came back. So still a lot of heat there. But as they start to kind of get into it, Zayn comes out to kind of stop the whole thing. Rollins had said some bad stuff about Jay. Sammy's sticking up for that. He's telling Sami Zayn, you're not family. So I understand, like, Punk came back and he did what he did it, and Jay, he's family. I understand what he did. But you, like, you're not family. I don't know why you did what you did. Why did you go to them? Sami Zayn flat out telling him, like, look, I didn't want him. I didn't want Punk on this team. I wanted you. I came to you twice, and asked you for help, and you turned me away. So then they get into a little bit of back and forth about who created the monster that is Roman Reigns, because if you lead all the way back to the days of the Shield breaking up, that chair shot in the back could be said that that's what started the monster. And Seth says he's atoned for that. He has gotten his forgiveness for that. But let's not forget, Sammy did the same thing. He also put a chair to Roman's back to
Yep.
catapult him to what he is today.
Well,
So,
but I feel like he was. See, I disagree with that to an extent because the monster was already there by the time Sammy did it.
right.
So I don't feel like that's a fair statement to say that Sammy created it. No, Sammy did what he had to get away from it,
right.
but to act like Sammy's at fault for this, like Seth is, no. One of these things is
You cut out there, but I assume you're saying one of these things is not like the other. But which, yeah, I mean, it's a little tricky to say
yeah,
you also had a hand in this.
right.
However, regardless of what happened, like now we've got a good feud between them. They start to kind of go out a little bit, and then we find out that we're going to see them later tonight in the main event against each other. So nice little setup for that. Just in the opening shot itself, Raw still doing great work. The shot of Punk was straight from him coming from the back all the way to the ring, so we still have
Yeah.
that tracking shot all the way through it. We have what we thought was going to be the next rivalry for Punk, which is him and Seth, but then that immediately kind of gets broken up and put into something else. So now we're going a different direction with it, and we'll find out as we talk about at the end of the night. We thought we knew what was happening with Sami Zayn now. Now that's also been put aside. So we're going to see what happens there. The first match was Damage Control versus Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, which is basically why the shit we doing this. It was okay. It was a match.
I feel like we're back to let's just throw a women's tag match out there to say that the women had a match.
Well, I understand the course of this is we got Io Sky that's gonna be facing against Liv Morgan for the title, but we haven't seen Kairi Sane for a little bit. So we're like, I understand they're both part of Damage Control and all that, but like we're just gonna throw them in a tag match and call it good. But this was basically just a spoon-fed way to get Rhea back into the conversation because Rhea comes out later. There's a lot of back and forth between her and Raquel. She gets a shot to the face, which then like aggravates that injury. So we get to kind of play
I
with that a
will
little bit.
say, I will say the way they did that was really well done.
Yes.
Bouncing her off that table like that.
Mm-hmm. It's little spots like that, man. It's little spots like that
Yeah,
that I just helps so much with little things and
I agree.
looks so devastating. And you don't have to waylay someone with a chair shot in the head or tap them in the head like I did. Dink. Women's Intercontinental Championship tournament match begins. It's Dakota Kai versus Shayna Baszler versus Katana Chance. No way Katana was winning this. I thought Shayna was winning it, to be honest. Of course, I wanted Dakota Kai, wholeheartedly wanted Dakota Kai to win.
I figured Katana was there to take the L.
Yeah.
That was, but anybody but Dakota, I'd have been upset.
Yeah.
Yeah, to
It
me, this is Dakota or Zelina's title. One of those two.
I don't disagree. Well, and we'll talk about that as it goes further. You and I had a little bit of a discussion of what we're afraid is going to happen, because you throw Natty in a first time ever tournament, just give her an
Crazy
accolade
that
to
her
give her the
brother's.
accolade.
Yeah, please don't. Crazy that her brother's wrestling meet and his wrestling nickname
Mm-hmm.
is White Boy Carl.
Nice.
Have you watched Shameless?
I have not.
Okay.
But I audibly cheered when Dakota Kai won. I was at the table with Kai, just kind of hanging out, watching wrestling, finishing up dinner, and then like I
Right.
heard "and your winner Dakota Kai," and I verbally was like, "Yeah," because that's
Right.
awesome. She finally gets a win. They're finally doing something. We did find out that what the rest of the tournaments were. I'm not going to go through those right now. What I might do is I might post to Twitter later, or maybe you and I can do a little TikTok at some point, just talking about just the tournament and what we think might happen. But nice that Dakota Kai won. I do hope it comes down to her and Zelina. That would be a lot of fun. And then one of them getting it because they're the internet darlings. They're what everybody
Yeah.
wants.
Well, and they have a show together.
Yeah.
So yeah, either one of those two winning it, I'm happy. I really hope it's not Natty. I really do.
I do too. I was reading through the names of all the contestants, and like she is in the last match of the bracket, and I immediately went, "Ah, oh, shit, we're gonna give it to her, aren't we? Like that's what we're gonna do because she deserves it." I'm not saying she doesn't, but
I I'm stuck on I see Natty just like I saw Brett. You're talented. I just don't care.
I don't care. Um,
I may care less about her than I do Rey Mysterio.
that's a lot. Wow, that's a lot. For anybody that
I know you
doesn't
would
know,
appreciate.
her hatred for Rey Mysterio and his deadbeat dad self.
Right. He wasn't a deadbeat dad. It'd be different.
No, it wouldn't.
No, it
You'd still
wouldn't
hate.
be.
You hated him before we had
I
Dominic
did.
come by.
I did.
Um, do we want to talk about the 10 years now, or do we want to wait till the end of it? I'm gonna leave
I
that up
say
to
save
you.
that to the end.
Okay, so we'll get to that here in a bit because that to me is the main event.
Yeah, to me that should have been the main
Yeah.
event, and I'd have stayed up for that.
Mm-hmm. Earlier that last night, um, Finn had gone up to Gunther and was like, which there was also a backstage thing with Judgment Day, which was kind of a flop. It was basically him smarting off to live. Like it wasn't anything big. But so he left there. He's like, I got to go take care of some business. So he leaves there. And the business is he and Dom are going to go face to face with Gunther in the back. And he's like, hey, where's my match? I've helped you twice now. You've won twice now. Where's my match? And he goes like, look, Gunther is like, look, I needed to win that on my own. I needed to do that match on my own, and you messed that up. So I don't know why you think you are owed something from this. And as Finn is mouthing off, he's saying the word two a lot. And Dominic is just in the back. And every time, like, I helped you 2 times. Dominic's back there, two. And that's twice now that you beat Damien. So finally, Gunther had enough of it and kind of pie faced him and was like, what are you all happy about? Oh, wait a minute. That's probably because you did something he couldn't do. You actually beat Damian Priest. So you know what? I've got some pull. I'm going to go talk to Pierce and we're going to see what we can do. And then we find out we're going to get Gunther versus Dominic Mysterio tonight.
Apparently, Pat McAfee posted a thing on Twitter where he was talking to the Miz,
Mm-hmm.
and the Miz talking about what happened last night with the New Day, and the Miz said, "I'm glad they did what they did."
That's because he's the Miz. Karrion Kross also tweeted about it and said, "This is all I wanted to see."
Who?
Karrion Kross.
Who?
He's like, "This is all I wanted to see." The New Day. So, but so all right. So the next match was Gunther versus Dominic Mysterio. It was actually a decent little match. Dominic actually kind of held his own. Um, Dominic lost. I don't think that's any big surprise. But so then Finn comes out and attacks Gunther. He gave him a couple of coup de grace and then looked straight at Dominic and was like, learn, watch me, kid.
That's how you get it done. Yeah. I'm like,
And so get up there and did it a couple more times. So we can kind of see what's happening now. We're going to go with Finn's got this big ego. He's thinking he's kind of like the head and the teacher of Judgment Day, which is probably going to end up breaking Judgment Day apart. But kind of starting there. And maybe a slight face turn for Dominic, because now Dominic's kind
I
of
won't
the
be
whipping boy.
surprised.
Yeah.
I think they're going to break Dom, Liv, and Raquel off.
Yeah, I think so.
It's going to be Finn's group.
Yeah.
The question is, do you put somebody else in there for them to have a fourth?
I don't know. I don't even know if he keep the group. Like he'll probably keep his boy JD, the bobblehead himself.
Yeah.
But everybody else will probably be gone. Because I don't see him keeping Carlito. And that's really the only one left.
He's there to throw to the wolves at times. I mean,
yeah. But he's also there to try to get Raquel. He tried to get a little word with her last night.
saw that.
We also had a little backstage segment. There was an interview segment with Pete Dunne asking, hey, obviously you know who you're facing tonight, but I don't know if R-Truth knows who he's facing tonight. And so Pete Dunne starts to talk a little bit. But then people start running, and we know what happens. Like, both of us lived in the hood. People start running. Everybody needs to start running. So everybody starts running to where we're running to. Come to find out, someone jumped Jay. So Jay's sitting back there. He's holding the back of his head. He got jumped. Don't know who it's by. Sammy comes to Pierce. Who is it? We don't know who it is, but who do you think it is? He thinks it's Seth Rollins. And it's like, I'm going to go whoop his ass. But before that happens, R-Truth versus Pete Dunne. Truth pulled off a surprise win. It was a quick roll up.
Stupid.
Which then infuriated Pete Dunne. R-Truth has the crowd chanting Butch, which is distracting him. It is what it is. R-Truth's funny. This segment wasn't necessarily funny, but is what it is.
It wasn't necessary. Like,
yeah, don't disagree. I mean, we just had him like beat Sheamus not too long ago to solidify that Pete Dunne was back.
And now he's taking an L to R-Truth. Not that I love Truth. Don't get me wrong, but
he's a comedy gimmick.
Yeah. Like, what are we doing?
So then after that, we get to the Sami Zayn Seth Rollins match. I mean, great match between the two. Zayn went out to get a chair towards the end of it. He was going to beat Seth with it for what he did to Jay. And Seth's on the ground. He's begging him. He's like, "Look, I didn't do it. I wouldn't do that. I would not have attacked Jay. I did not do that." So finally, Zayn tosses the chair. He tosses the chair as enough of a distraction for Seth Rollins to get the win. Seth Rollins rolls out, and then a big-ass bastard comes in, kicks old Sammy in the face.
Who?
Drew McIntyre. So Drew McIntyre is back. And the assumption is apparently Drew is who took out Jay. And now he took out Sammy. And we can see where he's going from there.
Bloodline.
Yeah, he wants to get Roman. So, nice little setup for that. Shocking return. Nobody expected him to come back like that.
No, I didn't.
He needs to stop coming out in hoodies, though, because like he's a big-ass bastard. He came out there and Claymored him, and then like he had the hood up and everything. Like, we don't know who you are. You big Scottish bastard. But it's okay. It was a good night, though. I mean, definitely a good Raw overall. Before we get on to do some pew-poos, we're going to talk about the main event to us, which was this Shakespeare of a story. Oh my goodness. We have both the New Day, Kofi and Xavier in the ring. And they're kind of getting along. Like they're looking
They
through the
were.
memory lane and just kind of looking at all the stuff, and um, they're talking about how great it is, and we couldn't be here without you guys. And Kofi dropped the Who thing that they used to do, and of course the crowd didn't know what to do with it because it's been so long since they've done it. He was like Who, and silence. Nobody said anything. I heard a couple of
It
Who's in the background,
was
but it was not as big as it used to be.
no.
Uh, but and he says, we wouldn't be here without you guys. We could appreciate all of you. And then they both kind of dip their heads, and Xavier picks up his mic and goes, "Now look, the next thing we're going to talk about, we want you to know it's not your fault." They're having like the parents getting a divorce talk. Like, it's
Right.
not your fault. And then Big E's music hits. The Big E comes
Which,
out.
first of all, his old music hit, and I was like, my first thought was, who is this?
Because we ain't heard it in so long. Yeah. I think the thought probably would have been it would have been confusing if he came out to the New Day music. Like, why are they playing the New Day's music now?
Except that I don't think it would have been. I think he could have definitely done the old entrance.
That's a good
But
point.
don't you?
He could have
But
done that.
if you really wanted to rip people's heart out, he comes out and does the "Don't You Dare Be Sour" entrance.
Yeah, that's a good point. That would have been nice.
That would have been brutal.
It would have been. But so he comes out there and he goes, like, look, it's been 10 years. It's been a decade. Like, I'm not going to let you guys throw this away because all of a sudden you're not getting along. Here's what we're going to do. I'm coming back, and I'm going to be your manager, and I'm going to galvanize you, and I'm going to cheer for you, and I'm going to be here for you to get us back on the right track. And until I get medically cleared, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be y'all's manager. And the way that Xavier and Kofi they tease that crowd so good, because like Woods would bring the mic up to his mouth, and then the crowds kind of start cheering. He'd drop the mic and smile. Like, he was eating it up. Everybody wanted the New Day, and everybody was glad Big E was back. And then he goes, now, and just waited a beat. Now you want to come back. Now you want to be with us. You've been gone for 2 years. You left us. And he's like, I broke my neck. And he's like, and? Stone Cold broke it.
That was where I was like, no, they're not.
Yeah. But so, like, he says he broke his neck, and then Kofi jumps in, which is really weird because, like, Kofi and Woods have been at odds about everything lately. And he jumps in and he goes, Steve Austin broke his neck and came back. Kurt Angle broke his neck and come back. Edge broke his neck and came back. And they didn't have anybody come back too.
I wondered if the Edge one was to see what the pop would be.
I wonder. That's a good point. But Kofi's like, they didn't have anybody to come back too. We were here waiting for you. We were waiting